So anyways, folks, our next guest, the one, the only legendary Bambi Jones. When live variety shows, known as vaudeville, faded away, many of the novelty acts moved their work to the burlesque stage. And when burlesque died, many of the remaining acts sought work on the stages of nightclubs, dine and dance clubs, and show bars. In her biography, autobiography, My Journey Burlesque, The Way It Was, Ms. Bambi Jones touches on the neglected subject of the nightclubs of the 1950s and 60s. After the 60s, many of the clubs started using go-go dancers, heralding the demise of the entertainer with the wardrobe. In her lifetime, the author has witnessed vaudeville, burlesque, supper show clubs, and even go-go clubs fade and eventually die. But there has been a resurgence in recent years, and she has been in the forefront of the burlesque resurgence, among other things. And she's here to talk to us about her life, her book, and just about anything under the sun. And Bambi Jones, welcome to the Mick Show.
Well, thank you, Mick. It's my pleasure.
Great having you on.
Thank you.
Hey,
At my age, it's a terrific pleasure to be on. I'll be 82 in April.
82 in April.
Right.
And I'm still very active. In fact, I was just in a show here at Summerlin, which is the adult area, part of town, in their Starlight Theater, the Follies, and I was on the show with Bubba Knight, who's Gladys Knight's brother. And I do a presentation on the history of burlesque with a little documentary in the beginning, which you can see on, if you go on YouTube, Burlesque Bambi Jones on YouTube, and there's a documentary there that was done by Riley Epson, whose grandfather was Buddy Epson, the great Buddy Epson, who, follow me on this, who danced with Shirley Temple way back.
Oh, yeah.
And Shirley Temple, I don't know if people are aware that her first movie was a burlesque movie.
Oh, wow.
Well, okay, I'm confused by that one because she would have been, what, 4 years old? I mean, what movie was she in that was burlesque?
It was called Babes in Toyland, and I believe you could still see it on, on the computer. I saw a couple of things that she did. They said that she was younger than she was. She was born, I believe, in 1928, and they said that they lied about her age.
Of course.
But anyhow, that was her first movie. And her picture was in the museum, out at the Burlesque Museum when it was open in Victorville, California, and I was so shocked by that. But they said, yeah, her first movie was burlesque.
I've
But
actually
anyhow,
seen that movie.
Well, you said that that you were appearing at this club in your part of town. Where is your part of town? You're in Vegas?
Sorry, okay, my little senior moment. Okay, it's not a club, it's the Starlight Theater.
Starlight Theater.
And the show was called, the Las Vegas Follies.
Oh, so
and
it is?
Rich Rizzo was the producer, and I did my presentation, and I do a little dance, a little shtick from back in the day, and I get the women involved. I get them up on stage, put them a boa on them, and get them to let out that cougar, that for so many years.
So I don't know if you heard the our rejoiner music. I was playing Night Train by Alvino Ray.
What, are you kidding me? I was up here bumping.
I was wondering if that rang a bell with you. Did you ever dance to that one?
Oh, of course, everybody did.
That's what I thought.
And they're still doing it.
Yeah.
There's such a resurgence, Mick, you would not believe what is going on all over the world.
Well, I had always heard about, I'd always known about burlesque, basically through the comedians that I grew up watching, like Laurel and Hardy and Jackie Gleason, and all those guys got their start in the burlesque theaters before they went mainstream. And so I'd always known about burlesque, and then suddenly with this creation of social media, people like yourself now have pages, and there was a local girl who was basically starting up her own burlesque troupe, and it was through her profile that I discovered you and other girls like Dusty Summers and April March, and so there's, like you said, it's this resurgence. You have all these young girls now looking to you they basically want to know what was it like and how do we do it.
Exactly, and back in the 40s and 50s when I just admired Betty Grable and Rita Hayworth. But today, the neo-burlesque young ladies look at us like we are their heroes. They emulate us. They pay homage to us. They do our. It's incredible, the treatment. In fact, I've got to tell you this. I was appearing as a legend at the Orleans here at the big burlesque convention that they have every yearly.
Uh-huh.
And I had met this young lady from Finland the year before when I appeared at the Orleans in New Orleans. And she and I had the longest discussion, and she was asking me all these questions. Well, the next year in Vegas at the Orleans, a couple of people came to me, Rick DeLop, who runs the big one in Vegas and New Orleans. And he came to me and he said, Lulu DeVille has a surprise for you. And the cameras came in, and Lulu walked over, and she pulled her sleeve up, and she had my whole pinup picture tattooed on her arm.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, come on, seriously.
That's
that's dedication.
Lulu DeVille, she was the reigning queen of Finland, and she appears around. She travels. She works. 50 weeks out of the year, all over the world. So burlesque is so huge. Here's the thing about burlesque. When people don't understand, people don't know about it, they think right away it's sex and it's bump and grind and all. But burlesque is comedy. It's lowbrow comedy. It's not sex. It's making fun of sex. And a lot of people don't know that the first burlesque show that was in this country was brought over by P.T. Barnum. The guy, the big circus, from Connecticut. And when I do my shtick in Connecticut at some of the colleges and senior centers, and I say, oh yeah, well it was P.T. Barnum who saw a show on Broadway that was called The Black Crook, and it was a very, very suggestive show, but it was very lucrative. See, they had ladies in pink tights and ballerinas. And back then, you didn't see legs. Mm-hmm. So he saw the possibilities, and he brought over the first burlesque show, which was Lydia Thompson and her British Blondes. And so Lydia did the comedy, the stand-up shtick, and the girls provided the pulchritude. And they took the theater storm by, oh my God, the biggest money makers. In fact, Times Square got very upset because they were competing. And during the Depression, burlesque was drawing in more business than the musicals, the huge musicals, because people could not afford to pay those prices.
Right.
So so Minsky, in 1931, the year I was born, that was the year he brought Gypsy Rose Lee to Broadway, to the Republic Theater, and Gypsy did comedy. She was the first stripper, enthusiast, to comedy.
And she did that in 1931?
1931. She was on Broadway.
Mackerel.
Minsky brought her to Broadway.
Minsky's
and
Follies.
Broke all records. And so before that, there was no stripping. Till in the 20s, a young lady named Hinda Wasu that I had worked with. Hinda came out of retirement to appear in Minsky's Maryland Theater in Baltimore, Maryland, out of retirement because she was the first one to strip on stage, and it was accidental. She used to dance in between the comics who did all the shtick. They were the stars. And she did a little number in between their little routines. Well, one night, what she did was she would overdress. She would put her costume on for her third show first, and then for the second one. Well, this night she was trying to prepare, taking the costume off to get ready for her next number because she was running out of time, and she couldn't get it off. The costume was stuck, and she was fighting to get it off, and the audience thought it was a tease. So the audience were thundering, take it off, take it off. And Minsky was sitting in his office and said, what is that? What is that applause? What is that noise? And they said it was an accident. And so Minsky said, well, keep it in.
And the legend was born.
Fun, and she came out of retirement. And back then, I was 17, 18 years old. I had no clue who this woman was, and she had to be in her 60s then. And I was saying, well, what's this old broad doing? They let her out of the nursing home. Where's her wheelchair? I had no idea the history. And then later, I learned about pasties. A very dear friend of mine, Carrie Fennell. And I worked with Carrie when she was like in her 60s. And she looked like Sophie Tucker, and she used to do, her whole routine was singing. She didn't take it off, but everything was pertaining to her mammaries. Everything was muscle controlled.
A lot of boob jokes?
All boob jokes. The whole show was boobs, and she was internationally famous. She worked the Gay Paris. She was an international star. I didn't know that she was the one that invented the pasties. When she was younger and working in Chicago, I believe it was the Rialto Theater, the girls would get arrested for showing their areolas. So
shocking.
So she came up with the idea to cover them, and they used to put paste on them to keep them on.
Pasties.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Pasties comes in, and I had no idea, and we worked together. We were such dear friends, and it wasn't until she passed that I found out that she was the one that invented the pasties. So here I had worked with these people. I had no idea. And now back to the comics. When LaGuardia threw burlesque out of New York.
Well, yeah, they kept busting Minsky. Who was it Fiorello at the time? Mayor Fiorello?
Sorry, that's
LaGuardia.
who it was. I had the wrong. Yeah,
Fiorello LaGuardia, and he was the one that kept busting Minsky and using him as an example, saying how he was going to clean up the city and get rid of all this smut.
Well, that's the ticket he ran on.
Yeah.
And then when he became mayor, he wanted to keep his promise, but he had no legalities to do that. So what happened was one lady who loved to work without a G-string, and that's something else. The G-string, a lot of people don't know what that means. It's called a G-string because it covers the groin, the groin area, so that's where G-string came in. Worked without a G-string, and she got caught. And so it gave him the ammunition. It gave him the ammunition to kick burlesque out of New York.
Yeah, well.
So when the theaters closed in New York, all the comics went to radio, television was just coming in. They went to L.A., to the theater, to movies. And so all these comics, Jackie Gleason, all of them, all got their start in burlesque.
Yeah, Phil Silvers, Abbott and Costello. I mean, there's just a slew of...
Francie, I mean, you could go on and on with these. They all started in burlesque, and the ones that didn't, their fathers did, or their grandfathers.
Right.
But was the great training grounds.
Alan Alda, the actor from MASH, his father did the burlesque circuit for many, many years. He was a comic. He had I think he had an act with another guy, and would travel the country and play all the burlesque shows. I think he was either a master of ceremonies or a comic. But so yeah,
Well,
Alan Alda's father did it too.
That's what they all. Well, I was married to a comic, to Artie Brooks, and Artie's mother and father were Artie Brooks and Margie, that were in vaudeville, and then it was so beneath them to go to burlesque, but burlesque could go where vaudeville couldn't. You know, so there was work for burlesque. You know, but anyhow, that's what happened. All the comics went and on to bigger and better things, and the dancers, the girls, you know, with all their wardrobe, and a lot of them, because they were looking for that gimmick after Sally Rand, you know, with her fans, made she became such a star that every chorus girl was trying to get her little gimmick going. So they worked with monkeys and snakes and, you know, you name it. They and worked Florida. God, Miami Beach. I worked there in 1952, the Paddock Club, and all the stars used to come in to those clubs. I met Errol Flynn in one of the clubs down there. But again, they were all the burlesque girls, and then what happened was a lot of them that worked with monkeys, with snakes, with, you know, all types of little critters in the clubs, they couldn't have this because of the drinking,
zoning laws.
I remember working the Paddock Club with a lady named Diana Ross and her monkey. Diana was not the singer. This was and when Diana was waiting near the service bar to go on stage, her monkey Squeaky used to reach out and try to get the fruit off the table for the drinks. You know, you've got a code. You know, in the clubs, there's the hygienic code. And the booze, I mean, there were so many rules and regulations, and oh my God, you have no idea. So a lot of them just quit.
Just to wrap up the Minsky story, Harold Minsky became famous for the Minsky's Follies, and of course, Fiorillo LaGuardia chased him out in New York, and he went to Vegas and continued to make history and a ton of money out there.
Yeah, well, and here's the kicker. My daughter, Bambi Jr., was in the last burlesque show on the Strip. It was at the Hacienda Hotel, and she did a poster for UNLV with Final Four or Bust, and it became very controversial. So that just catapulted her, you know, big time whenever there's any controversy. But there's no, I would venture to say there is not one true burlesque show in town. There are a lot of, you know, back in the day, burlesque, it was when poles were for firemen.
Right, exactly. Right, yeah. Well, all right, listen.
Wait, when you did an act with a chair, there wasn't somebody sitting in it at the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Where everything was a gimmick. You had to have a gimmick. And I had many. I was Joey Namath in 1969. I did a all-together football shtick, you know, the New York Jets.
Yeah, I love that publicity photo of you. You're dressed up like a Greek goddess or something, and you're holding the football, and you know, it's just it's a great publicity photo.
That was a football number. That was all football. There was footballs on the. That was all footballs.
Is that what it was?
Number 12. Yeah, not a. But I mean, you see what you see and what it is. It's all an illusion.
Well, I only see what I want to see.
There you go.
So you know, I'm a guy, and I'm going to see what I want to see. But what were you? You were a headliner?
Yes.
You were a headliner.
And I had no qualms with being an added attraction, because in New Orleans at the 500 Club and at Stormy's Casino Royale, which were two of the two top clubs, I worked with Carrie Fennell, Lily Christine the Cat Girl. I got to work with Callantan. These are all top names, and I could not have worked with them had I fought for top billing. So added attraction, I was Bambi Jones, Bambi Brooks. I was married to Artie Brooks, so I didn't use the name Brooks when we were working together, because that was something that, the public was not to know. If you were married or dating, that was a no-no. No different than, say, the movie stars in the 40s and 50s. You never saw a picture of them, for instance, Liz Taylor with all her children. You never saw a picture of her pregnant.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Betty Grable, that pinup picture of her with her back looking over her shoulders,
yep.
She was pregnant. Nobody knew that.
No.
The photographers knew it, but something you didn't have, because, I don't know, it took that kind of goddess aura or whatever from you.
Well, it takes away the fantasy.
Thank you.
Yeah, someone already been there.
Somebody's already been there before I was, and then you just feel deflated. You're like, oh, great,
But I did a lot of different numbers. I was in a water tank. I took my clothes off underwater, the Clio. I worked the Ottawa State Fair and did 48 shows in a day.
Wow.
I was waterlogged.
48 shows in a day.
Yeah, at the Ottawa State Fair. I was a pregnant bride. I did the football routine, all these different gimmicks that, and the greatest thing, one of the greatest things about burlesque is, you have an agent. All these clubs were union musicians, blah 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 blah, but it had the best secret witness program ever.
Witness protection program?
Well, I wasn't in that, but, you change your name, you change your appearance, different wigs, different costume, an agent that you trusted, and you could go anywhere in the world.
Well, and you can also change your look and your routine the next city you go to.
Exactly.
So, all right, so what were you as a headliner, what were you making in burlesque back like in the 50s?
My first job, I was in a chorus in a smart supper club doing Broadway numbers. I was working my buns off at $7 a night, and they deducted taxes. This is for doing 3 shows a night, 4 production numbers per show.
Wow.
There was a group of people who used to come in the club and order champagne, the best steaks, and they looked like show people, and I asked about them, and they said, well, they're from the Burlesque Theater. I had no idea what burlesque was. I came from Massachusetts to New York State. I had no idea. So next day, I went down to the Burlesque Theater, and I saw the first stripper I'd ever seen was Rose LaRose, and she took all of her clothes off. At the end, she flashed. She had nothing on.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to work that night, and I said, oh, my God, she was naked as a jaybird. And they said, yeah. I said, did you hear me? She was naked. And they said, well, okay, let's see. You get $7 a night, $50 a week. She gets like $5,000 a week. And I said, but wait a minute. She doesn't even dance.
Doesn't have to.
So I did the math, and in the beginning, you were getting like $125, $175, $200 a week as a stripper, as an enthusiast. Some places, if you had a name, $350. But that was back when like you were just coming out of depression. So that was terrific money.
Yeah, I mean, back in 1952, I mean, if you can make $300 and $350 a week, that's
that's monthly salary for
damn
a
good
lot of
money.
people.
Yeah.
But then what happened further on down the road when you're working in these places, and all of a sudden in Chicago they started with this bee drinking stuff, and the bee drinking is like bar. That's what the B stands for. These are bar girls that would sit and hustle drinks and get commissions.
Okay.
But what happened was the vice people, the police would come in and arrest them. They had no reason to be there. So the club owners would ask the professional dancers to teach these girls a little routine so they could just go up on stage and have a reason to be there. And so that's what a lot of us did, help these gals, and then we ended up out of a job because club owners, I mean, only wise business, you know, why pay a good salary to somebody when they have these girls that put money in the till?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How has evolved to where the girls with the boots, they used to get the tips in the boots. And today, the girls that work these gentlemen clubs, they pay to work.
Yeah.
To that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so now with burlesque, you know, they're doing production shows, and I guess people are just tired of in your face, and it's, you know, like I say, burlesque is comedic and it's entertaining, and it's coming back with a vengeance, and I'm thrilled. And I go around to these places, to senior centers, colleges. I just did the Italian American Social Club here in town. Hey, you do the Italian American Social Club in Las Vegas, you're up there.
Yeah, speaking of.
Yeah, I think Keith has a question regarding that.
Yeah, Bambi, I'm sure, and you've mentioned that you've seen some pretty interesting people coming through your shows, especially being out in Vegas. My question is pertaining to, you know, some of these people that built Vegas, the mob bosses that moved out there from New York and Chicago. What were your interactions with those type of people?
Well, you know, I'm not going to say anything because I was made an offer I couldn't refuse.
Oh no, that's
you don't want to swim with the fishes.
That's the easy way out, Bambi. Bambi, listen.
No, but really, if you look at it, Vegas now is mostly owned by the Mormons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, but let's Bambi. Bambi.
When what's his face, Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
Stayed at the Desert Inn.
Yeah, he hired Mormons because they're honest, they're trustworthy.
Well, they told him that he had to leave because they already had the rooms rented for the high rollers, and he said, "Oh, really?" And so he ended up buying it.
Yep.
And buying all these other things. So mostly, it's a lot of corporate.
Right. But let's
and the Fertittis that own the stations.
Yeah, that's today though, Bambi. Let's take a step back in time. We're not going to let you out of this easy. Let's keep in mind, Bambi, you're going to be 82 years old.
That's right.
You win. You're still here. They're not. So you can tell us what it was like, and you can tell us more about the mob influence and the gangsters you worked with.
No. I'm 82 for a reason. I'm still here at my age for a reason.
But they're gone. They're history.
But there's, you know, what can I tell you?
Okay. What
is it?
You know what? You know what you can tell me? All right. Your book, My Journey, Burlesque the Way It Was, talks about your career in burlesque. But you don't do any name dropping.
That's right.
Okay. Well, that's your second book.
Well, pretty soon.
Yeah, you do a tell-all book. That's what you're going to have to do because you've encountered all of these people. You've encountered a lot of celebrities, politicians, mobsters. You know, you can't listen. I've spoken at length to April March, and you know who April March is.
Of course.
Of course.
We shared my first husband.
Yeah.
She did what?
We'll get to that in a second. But you know, April March was fairly candid about the people that came through those clubs, and you know, so you can tell us too.
Well, but there's nothing to tell. I mean, you worked. Most of them owned the clubs. You know, I worked everywhere, just about. And most of them own the clubs, and you know, I was in Chicago, St. Louis, Wichita, Kansas, and you know, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all these places. But you know, they signed your checks. What can I tell you?
All right, so answer this.
I worked a club in Rhode Island that was really funny, the FEI. I said, "Why did you call it the FEI?" And said, They said, well, we named it after our father, who used to say, hey, FBI want to do this, I do it. FBI don't want to do it. So they named the club the FBI.
So the mobsters had a sense of humor.
Of course. And then one night they wanted to, one of them wanted to drive me home, and I had my old car outside. And I said, oh, no, I'm driving myself. And I went out and get in my car, and my car was up on blocks.
Oh, my God.
The ride home, a lot of terrific stories.
So April March used to bill herself as the first lady of burlesque because they said she resembled Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. And she was dating a man who was going to be eventually your husband, correct?
Artie, yeah.
Okay.
Well, she dated a few, but yeah, she was, before I knew Artie, she was dating Artie.
Yeah. Well, she was married 8 times, so, I mean, April knows her men, so. So she was dating Artie, and she passed Artie off onto you?
No. Artie was working in a town in Juarez, Mexico, and I came in to work Juarez, and he came after me and we dated, and then we ended up getting married. But before we got married, he said to me, I have to talk to April. She's in town, and I have to break up with her, yada, yada, yada. I said, okay. So I'm sitting in a coffee shop across the street from the Hilton or the Biltmore, whatever, and he's over there. He said he's going to say goodbye to April.
He goes up to April's room in the hotel to break up with her.
So now, fast forward, April. I haven't seen her. Maybe it was over 60 years.
Wait, how long was he up in the hotel room breaking up with her?
This is about an hour and a half.
An hour and a half to break up with April in the hotel room. Okay.
Okay, but listen to
and
this.
You're sitting across the street or waiting for him. Okay, so now.
This is 60 years later. We're in Boston at a burlesque convention, and we're sitting on the Q&A table. All the legends. Dusty was there, quite a few of the legends. And then I leaned over as a joke to April. I said, so April, what was it that kept you up there an hour and a half talking to Artie to break up? And she turned around. Well, we were just talking, and she was serious. She thought I was serious. Well, Dusty, I couldn't believe it that she really got really red in the cheeks about it. A couple of years later, somebody on the computer said, April, blah 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 blah. So I said, yeah, I want to know what took an hour and a half for her to say goodbye, because it's an ongoing thing now. Now it's about 65 years ago.
And you're still holding her down, holding her to it. She's not giving any specifics, is she?
But then I had to call her because somebody thought that I was talking about her. So I had to call her. I said, "Would you believe that?" And so we laughed about it. But we've been buddies for forever, just forever. And oh well. So many of the girls. Tempest Storm lives here. She's a good friend.
Oh wow, yeah. So there's another legend of burlesque right there. So you've been friends with April for many years now, and she's been a guest on my show, and she was a lot of fun to talk to. Another person that was a lot of fun to talk to that you know well is Dusty Summers.
Right.
Yes.
Dusty worked with Artie at the Palomino. My Artie worked there at the Palomino Club, which was the only club for many years, it probably still is the only one, that can go totally nude. And people don't know why, but I do. It's because when that club opened so many years ago, they made it a private club. So a membership club. So you have to carry a card.
They were skirt the law then.
So that's what happened. And it's not in Vegas, it's in North Las Vegas. It's like an outskirt.
Different jurisdiction.
Right. So for years, and I don't know if that still applies, but that is why. And that's where, when Dusty, said she was the first nude magician, that is why, is because that club was the only place that applied. So, but Artie's passed a few years ago, and it was really sad. You know, he wasn't doing too well. He had Alzheimer's.
Oh,
and,
yeah, that's...
Yeah, and when and he was wearing it was so sad. And April wanted to go see him, and I told her no. I didn't want her as, you know, my friend to see, you know, because he was just it was terrible.
Yeah, that's not easy to deal with ever. There's just no way around it, you know.
You know who lives down there in Florida is Camille 2000. She wrote her book. She lives there she's in Florida.
What is it again? Her name is?
Her name is Camille, Camille. And if she goes on her show, on your show, she's funny. She did her book, but she worked all down there, the theaters and everything through Florida. And she was just up here, and she was just she was just starring in the Alabama Burlesque Festival. But Camille is a legend. There's so many. Joe Boobs is incredible. Jo Weldon, she's in New York. She's the headmistress of the burlesque school.
Well, talk about your friendship with Dusty, since she's an old friend of the show.
Yeah, well, you know, I never worked with her. Again, I was in and out of the burlesque closet. It wasn't until I wrote my book and I had my grandkids read it, and they said, "Oh, wow, Grandma, you're cool." Wow, you know, so they allowed me. They gave me the permission to get back out there. But when I say I was in the burlesque closet, it's because I was married to he was the president of the Pharmaceutical Association for the state of Nevada. And we were, you know, dining with the top politicians and the big boys. And my husband was the president of so many organizations so I was in the burlesque closet.
What was your husband's name?
Charles Kotzen, Kotzan. He won the Bowl of Hygeia Award. His one brother is the president. He's a professor of pharmacology at Athens, Georgia, and the other brother's a judge in Indianapolis. So I was in the burlesque closet.
So
I had to.
So all right, well, so you're married this prominent public figure, and you go to cocktail parties, and you pass yourself off. You introduce yourself as Doris Kotzen, and and did anybody ever come up and whisper in your ear like, "Doris, huh? I used to know you when you were Bambi."
Oh, but wait. Wait, my daughter married Montel Williams.
Yes, the talk show host.
And Montel was the first black Marine to graduate Annapolis.
Mm-hmm.
So there we were at Annapolis at graduation time, sitting right up front with my little grandson at the time, the baby, and we're there with the Blue Angels and sitting right up front, and people from the White House, from you know, all the top naval brass. And I'm there saying, "Oh, my God, I hope they don't remember me from the block in Baltimore." Dead meat. Oh, my. You know, and then, like in Boston, he spoke at Harvard. So we were right at the front seats up there. And my daughter and I have memorabilia in the Harvard Theater Library. And I thought, oh, my, I hope when I met the president and everybody that somebody doesn't say, "Wait a minute, that's Bambi."
Your past coming back to haunt you.
My God, I worked Boston with Peaches in the Scully Square, you know, and I worked in the combat zone. And I was saying, oh, no.
This isn't going to be good.
I'm trying to go legit here.
Out of that burlesque closet like you wouldn't believe.
So your husband passes away?
He passed in '96, so that's
96, and then after a while, you just said, when did your daughter know growing up that was your career before your?
Yes.
So she was aware of the career, and then the grandkids found out later once you wrote a book.
Yeah, and if you go to like I say that YouTube and type in burlesque Bambi Jones, there's that documentary there, and she's on it, and it tells a little bit of the history of burlesque, and her, all of this that I'm telling you is kind of in that little documentary.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm learning a lot about it too. I just thought it was kind of more like the early versions of gentlemen's clubs, which it kind of is, but I'm learning about the the comedic acts and stuff like that I didn't know. I just thought it was girls dancing and with the feather boas and that was it.
No,
but,
and it's like it's making fun of, it's lower class making fun of upper class.
Mm-hmm.
Like during the Depression, it was all what's the word? The slapstick, but the dialect jokes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. With the influx of the immigrants, then that was in bad taste, and it just kept evolving and evolving. But no, and something else. We had so many rules to abide by. We first of all, our agents were union agents. Our music had to be union musicians. If you went from one club, and you went to a different club over a state line to another club, that particular club, that band they wouldn't play your music if they didn't so desire to. Have to write your music all over again, and you didn't walk in with music off of the racks. You had to have nice professional music.
Sheet music.
The clubs, no, you didn't.
No.
Yeah, but special written by the unions. The union was so strong, the musicians' union.
Okay.
And the clubs were all union. And our union was the American Guild of Variety Artists, and they were affiliated with the AFL-CIO. CIO, yeah, I was thinking CIA. Oh, boy.
No, they were in front. They were down front watching. That's what they were doing.
So everything was union. And when you walked in, like you had a rehearsal in the afternoon, and then you found out what the rules were. One place that I worked, that whatever you finished your act in went on a scale, and it had to weigh so much. Most places, you got nowhere near your audience. You were on a stage. You did a stage show. If you were on a stage, if it was on the floor, dance floor, it was a floor show. But your wardrobe, you had to have fully covered, a bra, areolas covered. The pants had to be like 3 fingers below your navel is where the pants had to come up to, and it had to have a big material in front and back, so your nothing showed. Mm-hmm. It was like wearing a bathing suit on stage.
Yeah. You couldn't see any pubic hair. You couldn't see the crack of your rear end.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. And in a lot of places you couldn't give, like I was the garter girl. I'd give a garter. You couldn't give a garter, even if you threw it to the audience, because that would be enticing them. And you couldn't do that. There were so many rules and regulations, and our union was in New York, and how strong the union was. We had a little problem in New Orleans at one of the clubs with the hospitalization. There was a claim put in, and the union refused to pay the claim. So the club owner says, well, I'm not sending you any more money for my entertainers, because if somebody gets sick, I take care of them. He said, we're not sending any more money for that plan on your union thing. So the union said, oh, really? You're not going to pay? What happened is they send the union man in, and they went down and threatened to stop all beer deliveries to the club from the warehouse down near the water, because their union, their AFL-CIO, was the Teamsters.
Teamsters, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So for the $300 claim, for the hospital claim, the union paid it.
Yes.
But I mean, this is how, you didn't mess up. If you didn't show up on a contract, or if you were late, you were blackballed. They strip you of your card. You couldn't work. It was so strict. So when they make it, the girls just go out party. No. It was very
disciplined.
Very disciplined. Yep. It was.
Take us through an average night. It's 1952. Keith and I walk into a burlesque club, and you're performing. What do we see from beginning to end? What is an experience? What is a night in a burlesque club? What was it like? What did we see?
Well, when the MC would come out, do some jokes, whatever, introduce or sing, and introduce the girl. So I would come out, and the first number would always be a pretty slow ballad, or a blues number, a slinky, Angel Eyes, or Mamselle. You had different routines for different times. Like the earlier shows, you would like to do a pretty ballad type of thing. But and then your second number would be a little faster, like Night Train, and then Tom Tom Solo, which could go on forever. Because I used to work to the audience a lot, and a lot of floor work, and one time in Miami Beach, I'd been out all day in the sun, and there was air conditioning in the club, and I was out there working and perspiring, and I looked around, and I thought I saw Errol Flynn in the audience, and I finished my show, and I used to do about 20 minutes of hard physical. So when I finished my show and went back to the dressing room, sat there, and my heart, I was having
a palpitation, or
I forgot what you called it. The heart started boom, boom, boom. Like I couldn't even move. I was sitting there, and I said, I just can't. I was
like heat stroke or something.
No, it's when you breathe in a paper, you hyperventing.
Oh, hyperventilating. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was hyperventing. I was sitting there hyperventing, and the boss came running in, and he says, there's somebody out here that wants you to join the party. So I said, not right now. I'm not well. And I just sat there. So the next thing I knew, there was Errol Flynn standing there in the dressing room, and he held my head and put it on near his waist, and he had something in his hand that he popped, and he held it to my face, and he says, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, and I breathed in, and I came right back. I was fine. It stopped the
palpitations.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we became friends. I didn't realize then what that was until years later when I met my husband, the pharmacist, and they were called their amyl nitrate, and it was for a heart condition. And years later, Errol died of a heart attack on his boat when he was in his 50s or close to, not quite, it wasn't 60. But we'd sit around and laugh and whatever. You never knew who was going to be there. Jerry Colonna would come in and said, okay, you see those girls over there? You take that one and I'll take the other. I said, I don't go for girls. What are you doing?
Jerry Colonna, man, there's another one. Jeez. I mean, all those guys used to work those clubs. So we would go in, and people have to keep in mind, there's a live band. There's no pre-recorded music. There's a live band performing in these clubs that you would dance to.
Yeah, oh yeah. And you had special music written up. You had your charts written up. You were well rehearsed. And then you do 2 or 3 shows a night. And if you cared to mix, to sit with special customers, you could. Back then, it was your prerogative. Not like today. That's what they go in with the intention.
Yeah, the girls
I'm
have to
not
go.
knocking it because it's supply and demand. But back then, it was just, no. Then when the union went, these gals don't have a union. They're not protected. When we were booked in a club, we knew we were going to have a job and we were going to get paid.
Yeah.
And the clubs were like A, B, C. The A's was the really good clubs where you didn't mix, where you sit in the dressing room and sew beads. And then the B clubs was semi, and then the C was mixing. And those were the ones that didn't pay the good money and not the nicest reputations. So the agents were even classified. In Boston, Paul Jordan, you got the girls that really mixed and were out there, and you had Johnny Sullivan, who had the girls that sat in the dressing room. What's her name that did the tassels in Boston? She was a big name, and I worked with her a lot. And in the end, when she passed, she owned a lot of property in the combat zone. And when she passed, she left $1 million to Tufts University, the dental college.
Wow.
Yeah, there's Sally Rand, very interesting. When she did her fan dance and became such a star, they don't talk about she was arrested how many times during that fair, Chicago Fair. But anyhow, she, the second year she did the World's Fair, she invested her own money in a huge balloon that was like see-through, peekaboo, a huge balloon that she worked with. And during the Second World War, when our president said, send up the weather balloons to spy, and they said, well, we can't because there's somebody that has the patent on that size balloon. So Sally gave up her patent for the government for World War II.
And Sally Rand, for historical purposes, like you said, when she appeared at the World's Fair, she was one of the top draws at the World's Fair. Now,
really?
Yeah, it was. Her show was huge. You could see archive footage, lines going around the park, just people waiting to get in to see her shows. I mean, she did the fan dance and everything, and she became legendary. It was huge, huge success. In April.
Think about this. Sally was not a stripper.
Right. Exactly.
She had the gimmick.
She
worked in a nude body stocking, which, thank God for nude body stockings, because at my age I couldn't get away with a lot of stuff without a body stocking.
Well, and it reminded me of what April March had said. When I spoke to her on the show, she says, "I want you to think about something." She goes, "I danced for God knows how many years." She goes, "I was a burlesque dancer." She goes, "I want you to think about this. I was a burlesque dancer for so many years, and no one saw me naked."
That's true. None of us.
She was so good at her routine with her feathers and everything else that you never actually saw her naked.
That's what burlesque was, because if you were naked, you'd get arrested.
Yeah, so that's a lot to say to say that you worked so all those years and no one ever saw you naked. So let me hold on just a second. We do have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Bambi Jones. Caller. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, caller.
Hello.
All right.
They were starstruck.
They were just scared,
In the very beginning, I worked every little strawberry festival in the state of Florida. I was so excited to be in Florida. I worked every little town that had any kind of a festival with the little carnival show, with the little carnivals all through there, back in 1950.
Okay.
In those the little shows there.
We have a strawberry festival here every year. I wonder,
Plant City Strawberry Festival. You know, with Dusty Summers got arrested in Tampa, Florida, she told us, back in the 70s.
Oh, my.
She came here to do a gig, and I guess somebody in some club didn't pay off the authorities, and they came in one night and took her and the other girls to jail, and they spent the night in jail, and, you know, just to make an example out of them, and that was her fondest memory of Tampa, Florida.
It's a lot of people's fondest memory of Tampa.
Hey, so here's what I want to do. You know that Dusty, for many years, was a pit boss at the Circus Hotel Casino.
Yes.
She even wrote a book on blackjack, on how to play blackjack. So my ideal vacation, I want to go to Vegas. And I want you on my right, Dusty on my left, and we go play the blackjack tables. We hang together. I want to hang out with you and Dusty in Vegas.
Great. I'm not going anywhere.
Good.
But let me tell you something about Tampa. When I worked Tampa, and I don't remember the club, but I ran into an old friend there that owned the club, and his trainer, Willie Pep, the fighter. He was a number one fighter. He had a club there. But anyhow, at night after work, we would all meet in the coffee shop, the entertainers, and cut up jackpots about what happened that night. And the girls that mixed, you could tell what hotel or what club they were working at, because like one for bee drinking would have like a pink champagne, and one would have a grape, which would be purple, and one would have a different color. So you just look at their mouth, look at their tongue, and you knew where they were appearing. They would get the commission on the drinks.
So it was above the waist. You were able to tell that by looking above the waist.
Yeah, no, the drink,
their tongues,
the grape champagne, the grape, whatever concoctions, whatever drinks that they would serve, and the girls would get commissions for. You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I do. Yeah, they like you said, they were hustling drinks. They had to get the guys to pony up and drink up. Really, that's what every club wants.
But they had special drinks for the girls.
Right.
And so the girls would have their tongues would be the color of whatever they were serving. So you knew that one club was serving like grape champagne or grape whatever. So the girl's tongue would be purple and say, "Oh yeah, I know you're appearing at such and such a place." They knew by that identification.
Well, see, I went to Vegas a number of years ago when my sister went out there to get married. And so I experienced the so-called new Vegas, the Bellagios and the Paris, and what do you think of Vegas now versus back then?
I feel that I was here in the best time. I was here in the early 70s. First time I was here was in 52. And there was very little here, and it was so hot, and I just said, no, I don't think so. I was out of here. It was 120 degrees. Next time I came back was in the early 70s, and Artie, my first husband, was working at the Palomino, so I had access to that club and all the people. The Dusty was there, and so many of the girls. A lot of the girls that are in town now, the girls that I go to lunch with, and they all worked with Artie. So, and then when I met and married.
Are you there?
Did we lose her?
Oh, no. Did we lose her?
Yeah, it sounds like it. We talked to her for so long, her battery died.
Oh, no, here I am.
Oh, okay, good. Thought we lost you there.
yet. I'm not on batteries yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I went to Vegas, and you know you had the carnival rides and this and that, and I don't know. It didn't have much appeal to me, and you know when I talk to people like you and Dusty, and I just want to go there and hang out with you gals, and I want you gals to show me, you know, what the old Vegas was like. You know, I just want to take a trip. We can drive up and down the Strip. We can go to, you know, Fremont. We can go wherever you want. Dusty knows how to play blackjack, so when we hit the tables, she can, you know, give us tips on when to hold 'em, when to fold 'em, you know, so they say.
Yeah, well, first time I came to Vegas and I went to the blackjack table and I was up, I was winning, and then when my friend says, well, come on, let's go, they took that money back so fast.
Well, that's what they do. But I told Dusty it's going to be my bankroll, so don't worry about it. So I don't drink, so I can do all the driving too. So if you girls want to drink, you know.
Oh, well, that's great. I love that.
There you go. So I don't drink, so I'm the
okay.
designated driver. So you don't have to worry about that. I'll play it safe for you. I'm not going to let you girls get hurt, but I want to hang out with you girls and just get a feel for, you know, the old Vegas the way it used to be.
Okay.
So I will definitely let you know when we're going to be out there, and you know, I don't know about Dusty. You know, she may just say, "I'm leaving town that week. Sorry." You know,
Mick's coming.
Oh God, not him again. You know, but well, so listen, before we go, I want to let people know about the book. Where can they get your book?
Oh, okay. I self-published, and it's through Rose Dog Books in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Rose Dog.
So Rose Dog
they have a website.
Is the website?
Yeah.
Let me just take a quick gander here. Rose Dog Publishing?
Yep.
There we go.
Pittsburgh.
Wow, where is it?
It doesn't look right.
Yeah, something's not going on here.
Really?
Yeah, let me just try to get to your...
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
That's something else. I don't know.
Okay.
Different routines that I do. Like, it'll be my third year in New Orleans. Oh my! What the stars that used to come there? Oh.
Well, like who?
Orson Welles, Mickey Rooney. Oh boy.
Bugsy Siegel.
Liberace.
Bugsy Siegel, yeah. Al Capone.
Sam Giancana.
Like Mary Pickford and her husband. You just never knew. You just never knew who was going to be there.
What about Jack Ruby?
No, I think Artie worked for him. I worked for, I knew Candy Bar. Candy was my good friend. In fact, she autographed a book for me. She did a book of poetry, and they say that Candy was the only one that knew who shot Kennedy. That she took it, the secret to the grave with her.
Oh, serious?
Wow. Yep, they said that Candy was the only one, and she took it with her. They said she was such a tough cookie. Hard to believe.
Well, so wait, yep. What was her theory, that Oswald didn't do it, or?
We never.
She just kept.
We never discuss anything pertaining to that, to anything, even because when you say, they're all gone, no, they have offspring.
Okay, all right. We won't push the subject anymore.
Okay.
So the book is called My Journey Burlesque: The Way It Was, and
you can put Doris Coates-in.
Doris Coates-in. Don't, because if you type in Bambi Jones, I don't know what's going to happen. But Doris Coates-in, that's Kotzan, and it's rosedogbooks.com. We got it up on the site now, Rose Dog Books, and you can go check it out. And it's also in the e-version as well. They can download it as well as buy the paperback, correct?
You see, I have no idea.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at that. It's actually cheaper if they download it as opposed to getting the book itself.
Oh, well, Oh, good.
So yeah, so they can get it both ways. So either in paperback, or they can get it in
Kindle
for your Kindle Fire and things like that, so you can read it electronically. And I would encourage you to do that. Once Bambi goes through the obituaries, then she'll know when to write her tell-all book. You know, so you know, because then she can start naming names. So I'm telling you, that's the second book. I told April the same thing. I said, your second book is the tell-all. You know, but
or you write it as you know, the anonymous burlesque dancer, kind of like the anonymous magician who told all the secrets to the tricks.
Right.
Yeah, you can do it that way.
Use another pseudonym. Just create another name.
Okay.
That's what we'll do. And of course,
a lot of them. Rosie Buttocks was one of my names.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
A lot of them.
That's a
lot of AKAs. That's I'm known as the AKA person.
And again, I'm serious. We would love to meet you the next time we're out in Vegas. We would love to, you know, and if you're doing any shows, of course, we would like to attend that. And you know, we'd like to say hello to Dusty as well, because she was wonderful having her on the show. She was really a lot of fun to talk to, as you are too. And we'd love to have you back in the future, if you don't mind.
I'd love it.
Okay.
I'd love it.
Great, because we still have, we probably have many, many more questions to ask, so we could easily fill up another hour and a half. So by all means, we'd love to have you on in the show. And we will go ahead and take our interview, and we'll post it on your website as well as the Mix Show's website on their Facebook pages. And
could I have your email
yeah, sure.
Address?
Yeah. Do you want it now?
What is it, so I could...
Oh, do you have a pen or pencil?
Yep.
Okay. It's simply The Mix Show.
Okay.
@ yahoo.com.
Oh, that's it. That's simple.
Yeah.
Well, Mick's pretty simple. You can't complicate things with him.
Yeah, no, I got to keep it simple. So.
Good. Great.
But it was fantastic talking to you, and again, we would love to talk to you again in the future. And so please don't be a stranger, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, sir. And if there are any questions, just give me a holler.
By all means.
Thanks a lot, Bambi.
Bambi Rose Dog Books is where you can get her book. She's also on Facebook as Bambi Jones. Go ahead and friend her there. She's a fantastic lady. And just like, again, all we did was scratch the surface tonight. That's all we did. So there's a lot more for her to tell, and we are definitely going to have you on in the future. Thank you again for appearing on the Mix Show.
Thank you. Best wishes to all.
Thank you. Have a good night now.
To you as well.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for the memories, not memories.
Oh, okay. All right.
Stay away from the veal.
There you go. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye now. She's been around she married a comic, you know. She knows all the routine.
Yeah. She's a funny lady.
Oh, like I said, we only scratched the surface with her, so.
The amount of stories that she must have in her memory bank could fill countless books, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, so she went easy on herself with this first book, you know, saying, this is how I work the clubs. Yeah. You know, it's like, no, there's more to